In this building here, we produce powdered metal. 6,500 people worked here. 6,500 great paying jobs, great opportunities. My generation is the last, we're the last guys who ever know anything about A.O. Smith. We were the last ones, my generation was the last group to retire. No one else came after us. We were the end of this era. That's the worst of what Milwaukee is, right there.
Will America split itself? That's the real question.
Like-minded people want to be in the same place. But again, it's so big, there's so much space, I don't know how you combat that.
My dad came here at the age of 16. If you can imagine a 16-year-old boy leaving his home and venturing out on his own to find an opportunity. My mom and dad were from Warren, Arkansas, a southern state, and that did not have many opportunities. The only thing that gave us an opportunity, again, to work in factories was the fact that World War II was underway, and they needed to have people who would help produce the munitions. And so that's what opened the door for African Americans. Out of 7 brothers, I was the only one who followed my dad into the factory. Many of the people who I worked with didn't live anywhere near our neighborhood. They lived in segregated communities. So people would just drive into town. The only time they would see a black person is when they got to Milwaukee and when they went to work. And so certainly there were strained relationships at times between our co-workers who were white and those of us who were black. What do you have? What do you have? These are my children and my wife. So we could go to places like Disney World and live the kind of opportunities that other kids didn't get an opportunity to do. I made a tremendous amount of money for an uneducated person, and was able to live an upwardly mobile middle-class lifestyle. Those same kinds of factory jobs where I was making $25 an hour 15 years ago now pay $7.50. And so that's why it's so segregated. Because again, going back to what this whole thing is about, industry left. It was industry that was the key to black upward mobility. So when you were talking about African Americans who are last hired, first fired, the opportunities for them are nowhere near what ours were, and they'll never be.
You know, this the 53206 zip code, but it's known as ghost town. Come around here, little bro. My name is Khalil Coleman. I'm a community activist.
My name is D'Angelo Baker. I doesn't work or anything, but I'm looking for a job. You know, to tell you the truth, sir, life is not great, and life is not fun. You know, it's okay because all in Milwaukee, all you see is violence. You know.
You know, in this community, you know, is you know, for a long time has been known as one of them neighborhoods that has always had those disparities. You know, the lack of opportunities, the high incarceration, black men going in and out of prison, you know, on papers, a felon can't get proper employment, if any employment at all.
It's safe to be out here right now. Very safe to be out here right now. But at a given time, you don't want to be out here. I don't want to be out here. Because it's the jungle. And people are doing what they do in jungles. They're preying on one another. That's the worst of what Milwaukee is. Right there. There's no way any person should live there, but I'm sure there are many people living there. They bled the life out of these homes.
In the city of Milwaukee overall, 5 through 206, 5 through 210, 5 through 209. So I'm really a Milwaukeean to the heart. I was born in one area. I was born in the zip code 53206. That's that zip code that you all keep hearing about. And I moved to an area in the 53210 zip code. In the 79, when we moved over there, next door to me, I had the little white kids screaming nigger over the fence and spitting. It wasn't hidden, it was out front. Kind of more like the Southern racism. In my youth, racism didn't go anywhere, but it seemed to have retreated. It went back in the house, so to speak. Sneaky racism, that's how I call it. Overt racism is, what do you want? Why are you here? I don't want you here, leave. Systemic racism is, oh, how are you doing? How let me help you? While at the same time, like we said earlier, taking the job application and putting a number or some type of symbol on it to let you know that that's a black person. Don't go any further with this. Or charge double or triple the interest on a loan. Things like that. More like a velvet glove with a soft touch, while at the same time stabbing you in the back with a dagger.
You look at Milwaukee and you see that is far more segregated in terms of the educational gap between black and whites, you know, and the achievement gap, you know, in terms of employment, you know, between white men compared to black men. You know, white man with no a white man with a criminal record go apply for a job. Black man with no criminal record, white man still get the job first. I'm not even sure if white people think about segregation. You know what I'm saying? I'm not even sure if segregation is a word for white people, because white people don't feel restricted going where they need to go or doing what they need to do. You know, so these terms wasn't created for white people. These terms were created for black people.
So right now we're in Germantown, Wisconsin. We're about 25 miles north of the city. So welcome to the Liberator House. You know, I think it's pretty typical for this area. I've got 3 kids, so there's plenty of place for the kids to play. On the trampoline right now, jumping around, hopefully getting some exercise. Front yard doubles as a sport court, I guess. Life in this neighborhood, I think, is ideal. I mean, this really is the quintessential American dream. Good neighbors, good people, hardworking people. I can't really think of anything better, any place better. So right now, this is kind of the pre-festivities to the homecoming dance. So Jackson, my son, and all of his friends are here getting ready for the dance. And as we're getting ready, the other parents have come by and get a chance to hang out and chat before they all leave. If you live out here in Germantown, which is a very Republican area, you're going to find less African Americans. It's a fact. And as you get into the city and you find lower income areas, you get more minorities. And so by virtue of that, it creates segregation, sadly. Like-minded people want to be in the same place. But again, it's so big, there's so much space, I don't know how you combat that.
Oh, thanks, hon. All right, let me get closer to you.
You know, the future for Germantown is strong. As I said, I grew up here. I think I've kind of lived in the area since 1980. Unfortunately, in the inner city, you've got a lot of disparity in income. There was a time in Milwaukee that it was, I would say, relatively easy to find a good paying job. You could find factory work that was not highly skilled, that was union, it paid well, and you could support a family with it. Globalization, competition, you've seen that go away. So you've got a lot of people who, rightfully so, are frightened because that's what they've known, that's what they've seen, and it's not going to be easy.
I'm a spiritual guy, not necessarily a very religious guy. But I dread the day that we get to the end of the Bible where it's all our warfare. Sometimes I think that that's the only way. Hope for better, but I know this country, America here, it knows no change without violence.
In my future, sir, I see myself never coming back to here again. Living a good life. Because in this world, it's not nothing here at all but bad. And all you see is bad.
We can only go 2 places. We either moving forward or we're going backwards. One or the other. And I know it's a lot of good people that's trying to push to go forward. But then you have these systems, these institutions in place that's trying to keep things like the old America used to be, and the real question is, will America split itself? That's the real question.
You have to understand emotions have gone up and down, up and down, up and down. Because things start out, you think that maybe there's going to be some hope, then things change, then there's no hope. And now there's talk again of some more hope. That's the future there, gentlemen. That's the hope. If I had a penny for every person who asked me if I could help them find a job, I'd be a wealthy person. And maybe some of the young men that I work with now in the public schools, this is their future, not mine. My future is long since past. But this is a hope for somebody else's future. So that's great news. Great news. So it's changing again. This time I hope for the better.